Maplewood was the kind of town where everyone knew each other. Tree-lined streets, well-kept lawns, and the occasional sound of children playing in the distance. It was a place where people felt safe, where the biggest news was usually about a high school football game or a local bake sale. The Hargrove family had lived in Maplewood for over 2 decades. John and Margaret Hargrove were respected members of the community. John, a retired engineer, and Margaret, a beloved elementary school teacher. Their son Daniel had recently moved back home with his girlfriend, Lisa, after losing his job in the city. The family seemed to be adjusting well, or so the neighbors thought. It was a chilly Tuesday morning when the mailman, Greg, noticed something unusual. The Hargroves' mailbox was overflowing, and newspapers were piling up on the porch. Concerned, he knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He peered through the window and saw nothing out of the ordinary, but a sense of unease gnawed at him. Greg decided to call the police. Officers arrived shortly after, and, after receiving no response, decided to enter the home. What they found inside would haunt them forever. The house was eerily silent. The officers moved cautiously through the living room, calling out for anyone who might be home. As they ventured further, they noticed a strange, almost metallic smell in the air. It led them to the basement. The basement door was slightly ajar. One of the officers pushed it open, and the smell grew stronger. They descended the stairs, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. At the bottom, they found a large chest freezer, its lid closed but not sealed. With a sense of dread, one of the officers lifted the lid. Inside, they found the frozen bodies of John and Margaret Hargrove. Their faces were pale, their eyes closed as if in peaceful slumber. The officers radioed for backup and continued their search of the house. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, they found Daniel and Lisa. They were lying on the bed, lifeless. There were no obvious signs of struggle, no visible wounds. The scene was perplexing, almost surreal. Detective Laura Bennett was called to the scene. She was a seasoned investigator with a sharp mind and a keen eye for detail. As she surveyed the house, she noticed something odd, a small, almost imperceptible puncture mark on Daniel's neck. She ordered a thorough forensic examination of the bodies and the house. The initial autopsy reports revealed that John and Margaret had died from hypothermia, their bodies frozen shortly after death. Daniel and Lisa, however, had died from a lethal injection of a powerful sedative. The puncture mark on Daniel's neck matched the injection site. As Bennett delved deeper into the case, she uncovered a web of secrets. John Hargrove had been struggling with severe depression after his retirement. Margaret had been his rock, but she too had been feeling the strain. Daniel's return home had added to the tension, as he and his father had a strained relationship. Lisa, it turned out, had a history of mental health issues. She had been in and out of therapy for years, and her relationship with Daniel had been tumultuous. Friends and neighbors reported frequent arguments, but no one had suspected anything this dark. Bennett discovered that John had purchased the chest freezer just a month before the deaths. She also found a journal in Margaret's handwriting, detailing her fears about John's mental state and her own feelings of helplessness. Piecing together the evidence, Bennett concluded that John had killed Margaret in a moment of despair, then stored her body in the freezer. Overwhelmed by guilt, he had taken his own life, leaving a note that was found crumpled in the trash. The note expressed his love for his family and his belief that he was sparing them from further pain. Daniel and Lisa, upon discovering the bodies, had been overcome with grief. Lisa, in a moment of madness, had injected Daniel with the sedative, then herself. The house had become a tomb, frozen in time, a tragic end to a family that had once been full of life. The news of the Hargrove family's death sent shockwaves through Maplewood. The community came together to mourn, holding a memorial service that was attended by hundreds. The house on Maple Street was eventually sold, but the memories of what happened there lingered. Detective Bennett often thought about the case, about the fragility of the human mind and the depths of despair that could lead to such a tragic end. She hoped that, in some small way, her work had brought a measure of closure to a community that had been forever changed.